If I asked you to improvise a guitar solo right now, would you know what to play? For a lot of guitar players, the answer is probably nope. And you know what? That's completely normal, because improvising seems like this mysterious thing that only advanced players can do. But what if I told you you only need 3 simple ingredients to start improvising right now? No advanced theory, no memorizing the entire fretboard, no magical talent that only a few people are born with, just 3 simple steps. And by the end of this lesson, I'm going to show you a complete solo built from these 3 ingredients. So the biggest mistake beginners make is thinking, I need to know all of this information or have all this knowledge before I can improvise. But that's actually backwards. Improvisation isn't about knowing everything. It's about knowing a few things and learning how to use them creatively. So let's build your first solo together. Starting with step 1, we're going to learn 1 scale over 1 chord. We're going to make this ridiculously simple. So we'll use the A minor chord, for example. Just 1 chord. Or maybe you're used to playing in the open position. So that's the only chord that we're thinking about. We're not even going to need to play that chord per se. We're just going to be playing over that chord. And that'll make sense in a second. Because now we're going to be using a scale to play over that chord. And that's going to be the A minor pentatonic scale. Makes sense, right? A minor pentatonic scale naturally sounds like it would work over an A minor chord. So here's the scale right here. Now here's the key. I don't want you thinking about speed. I don't want you thinking about trying to impress anybody. I just want you to explore. So what that looks like is like this. Play a few notes in the scale, pause, and play a few more. Even if you're just gonna walk it up and down. Kind of give it that sort of play, pause sort of rhythm, right? And move on to the next few notes. And then the last few notes. And you can walk it down even. Now, I wonder if you noticed something just then. When I played the scale like that, as opposed to just going, just adding those pauses in between kind of made it sound more musical, like there was some musical intention that I put into it, right? And all I did was just play a few notes, pause, and then played a few more. And so doing something like that, it's like, even with no experience soloing or improvising, it already sounds like music if you do that. And that's because the scale and the chord are working together. Even though we're just playing the scale, every note in the scale fits under an A minor chord. So what we're doing is implying the chord by playing the appropriate scale. So you want to think of the scale as your playground, right? This is where you're going to be spending all of your time practicing building your first solo. Now for step 2, we're going to borrow 1 lick. This is something that almost nobody tells beginners. So the greatest guitar players in history learned from other great guitar players. Shocker, I know. But everybody borrows ideas. So you could pick a guitarist that you love, maybe Eric Clapton, David Gilmour, Slash, or B.B. King, for example. You could steal 1 lick from them, just 1, not 20, not a whole solo, just 1 simple phrase. And of course, keep it simple, right? You don't got to shoot for the moon quite yet, all right? Start with a lick that's pretty straightforward, that'll fit really well in this minor pentatonic. Right now, I'll give you an example of a lick that kind of emulates all those guitar players that I just listed. And it's very simple and fits right within the A minor pentatonic neighborhood, and it simply goes like this. Very simple blues lick, you know, that has kind of a hook to it, right? It's a bit catchy, and you'll see how it'll work in context, right? But all I'm doing is playing 5, 7, 5, 7 on the A and the D strings. And then I'll play the 5th fret on the G string, and then bring it on home to the 7th fret of the D string. It's a very singable lick. In fact, I highly recommend you sing along with a simple lick like this, because it really helps kind of lock in your ear, right, and your hands, right? And because it's singable, you know it's going to sound good, especially when you play it over a backing track. Now, as you can see, I can already use this lick inside that same pentatonic box. It is right there. Now, suddenly, this solo that we're going to start to build has vocabulary to work with. You can think of it like learning a sentence in a new language. Now, for step 3, we're going to use melody. Here's a secret that kind of changes everything. A lot of beginner guitar players, or at least guitar players who are beginners to soloing or improvising, they put a lot of pressure on themselves to try and invent ideas from scratch. but you've already got ideas, and it's actually hiding inside the lick that we learned in step 2. And you can take that lick or melody, right? Which, by the way, it can be a guitar lick, it can be a vocal melody, wherever you can pull inspiration from. And the simpler and more powerful it is, the better, right? Because the simple stuff, especially when you think of a singer doesn't have to shred with their voice, right? They can just sing a few notes and it just sounds great and beautiful and impactful. So you can think of the same thing. There's so many great guitar players that can have that same effect on guitar. So whether it's a melody or like a lick, like the one example we did in step 2, you can take that and essentially multiply it. Let me give you an example. So you know with this lick we had, watch if I do that same kind of melody, right, or same kind of rhythm of that lick and apply it to other parts in the scale. All right, and I just brought it home with the original lick, but I essentially multiplied it over the entire scale by just basically following the rhythm of that lick, and you saw how I was able to explore the entire scale and not do anything flashy or fancy, didn't even do any bends or like any crazy fancy moves or anything, right? I was just sauntering through the scale and sticking with that ba-da-da-da-da-da, right? And voila, I have multiple ideas that I can leverage just from that one lick or melody. Now, just to give you an example of a vocal melody, let's say, right? You know, this lick right here very much reminds me of Born Under a Bad Sign, right? So if I think of the vocal melody, Born Under a Bad Sign, right? Which is really similar to the lick, right? To the hook, we can go, you know, something like that. Super simple, right? I was just going 5, 7 on the D string and then 5 on the G string, back to 7 on the D string, right? Born under a bad sign. So that right there as a melody is memorable and emotional. So we can actually apply that just like we did with the lick over the entire scale. I can go, right? Or like, born under a bad sign, born under a bad sign. You know, it's just like following that melody, but creating whole new ones just by having that melody in my head. By the way, if you're getting value out of this lesson, do me a favor, hit that like button and consider subscribing to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. Okay, so now let's combine all 3 ingredients, right? So ingredient 1, we have our pentatonic scale in A minor. Ingredient 2, we have our borrowed lick, right? And ingredient 3, we're taking that as a melody and multiplying it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw in a backing track in the key of A minor. And just so you know, it's not going to be just an A minor chord. It's going to be other chords going on in the progression. But every note you play in the A minor pentatonic scale is going to work because it's in key. So don't worry if you're playing along with me on this. Don't worry about the other chords. You can still focus on playing over that one chord, the A minor chord, and it's going to work no matter what. I'll prove it to you, in fact. I'm going to play this lick and only this lick for the first run of the 12 bars, and then as we keep on going, I'll start to improvise and add the other ingredients. Here we go. Works. And it'll keep working. See how that worked the entire time over all of the chords? Now let's multiply, right? I'll just keep going, just to show you how far you can take this. You can get a lot of miles out of this. Now let's just do the melody, right? Let's think of Born Under a Bad Sign. And see, from there, I'll start with the melody and it'll just kind of jog ideas, you know? And bring it on home with that lick, right? And notice what I didn't use when I was playing over that backing track, right? I didn't need advanced scales. I didn't need complicated theory. I didn't need blazing speed. Everything came from one simple scale playing over one chord, right? One borrowed phrase and a melody peppered in, right? But most importantly, we were multiplying that phrase or that melody, whatever it is that we chose to use. And you know, that's how a lot of great improvisers get started. Not by learning everything, but by learning how to use a few things really, really well. And today we just dabbled in improvising in one key, right? A minor. But if you want a simple system that'll help you solo in any key without getting lost on the fretboard, I put together a free resource just for you. And it's called the Solo in Any Key Cheat Sheet. It'll show you how to find every key on your fretboard on just one string in a matter of minutes. Then it will show you how to connect scales, chords, and soloing across the neck in a way that actually makes sense. So if you take what we learned today in today's lesson and multiply it over all the keys, major and minor, that's what you're getting with this bad boy. So just be sure to click the link here to grab your free copy. It's free, by the way. Or check the link in the description box. Or if you're watching this on TV, go ahead and scan that QR code with your phone. Because great improvisers aren't the players who know the most. They're the players who know how to turn simple ideas into music. And it's just that simple.